Welcome to African Elements, where we dive into the rich tapestry of African and African American history. In this video, we're going to explore the life and legacy of Steve Biko, a titan in the fight against apartheid in South Africa. We're going to uncover how Biko's philosophy of Black consciousness continues to shape modern movements for racial justice and equality. So, let's jump in and discover the man who dared to challenge not just the apartheid regime, but also the very mindset of oppression itself. I'm Professor Darius. Welcome back to African Elements. Welcome if you're new. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only who Steve Biko was, but how his ideas can empower us today in our ongoing struggle for dignity and self-determination. Steve Biko was born in 1946 in Ginsberg Township, Eastern Cape, South Africa. From his earliest days, he was immersed in the harsh realities of apartheid. His father worked as a clerk and his mother as a domestic worker, roles that exposed young Steve to the systemic inequality that defined South African society. This early exposure to injustice wasn't just a backdrop to Biko's childhood, it was the spark that ignited his lifelong commitment to fighting oppression. As Biko pursued his education, his political awareness grew exponentially. He joined the National Union of South African Students, NUSAS, an organization that claimed to fight for racial equality. However, Biko quickly became disillusioned with NUSAS. The problem? It was dominated by white liberals who, despite their good intentions, often approached the struggle with a paternalistic attitude that undermined Black agency and dignity. This realization was a turning point for Biko. He understood that true liberation couldn't come from well-meaning white saviors, but had to be driven by Black people themselves. This led him to co-found the South African Students Organization, SASO, in 1968, which would become the foundation of the Black consciousness movement. Now, let's break down what the Black consciousness movement was all about.
At first, since you're still with me, how about dropping a like? Maybe even consider subscribing for more content straight from my classroom to you. You can also support this content by joining the community of history makers on Patreon. There you can get access to ad-free video content for as little as $1 a month. Either way, your support is greatly appreciated.
The Black consciousness movement, at its core, was a philosophy that aimed to shake off the psychological shackles of apartheid. Biko recognized that the oppression of Black people in South Africa wasn't just physical or legal, it was also deeply psychological. The apartheid system had ingrained a sense of inferiority in many Black South Africans, and Biko was determined to change that. The Black consciousness movement had several key principles. First, it emphasized Black pride and self-worth. Second, it promoted self-reliance. Third, it sought to unite all non-white groups under the banner of Black. Fourth, it emphasized the need for psychological liberation. Biko famously said, "The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed." He understood that true freedom required not just political change, but a fundamental shift in how Black people saw themselves. Biko's ideas were revolutionary and dangerous to the apartheid regime. He wasn't just challenging the laws of the land, he was challenging the very foundations of white supremacy. The government recognized the threat he posed, and in 1973, they banned him. This meant Biko was restricted to his home area, couldn't speak to more than one person at a time, couldn't be quoted, and couldn't write or speak publicly. But Biko wasn't deterred. Despite these severe restrictions, he continued his work. He established the Zimele Trust Fund to help political prisoners and their families, showing that even under intense pressure, his commitment to the cause remained unshakable. The apartheid regime's fear of Biko and his ideas eventually led to tragedy. On August 18, 1977, Biko was arrested at a police roadblock. He was taken to Port Elizabeth for interrogation, where he was tortured and beaten. On September 11th, Biko was transported to Pretoria, naked and shackled in the back of a police van. He died the next day from a brain hemorrhage. The circumstances of Biko's death shocked the world. The apartheid government tried to cover up the true nature of his death, claiming he had gone on a hunger strike. The evidence of brutal treatment was clear.
An autopsy revealed extensive bruising and brain damage.
Biko's funeral on September 25, 1977 became a powerful symbol of resistance. Despite government attempts to limit attendance, about 20,000 people gathered to pay their respects, including foreign diplomats. The funeral turned into a massive political rally, with mourners carrying banners displaying Biko's image and famous quotes. The impact of Biko's death was profound. It sparked widespread protests and riots across South Africa. Internationally, it led to increased pressure on the apartheid regime, with many countries strengthening their sanctions against South Africa. Biko became a martyr for the anti-apartheid cause, his death highlighting the brutal nature of the regime in a way that couldn't be ignored. But Biko's legacy goes far beyond his tragic death. His ideas continue to resonate in post-apartheid South Africa and around the world. The concept of Black consciousness has influenced movements for racial justice globally, from the Black Power movement in the United States to contemporary struggles against systemic racism. In South Africa, Biko's emphasis on Black dignity and self-worth has shaped ongoing discussions about race, identity, and empowerment. His critique of white liberalism has forced a reckoning with the complexities of allyship and the need for Black leadership in liberation movements. Biko's philosophy also had a significant impact on the strategies of other anti-apartheid organizations. His criticism of the African National Congress, ANC, for what he saw as a lack of assertiveness, pushed the ANC and other groups to reassess their approaches. This led to more direct and confrontational tactics in the fight against apartheid. It's important to note that Biko's ideas weren't without controversy. Some criticized the Black consciousness movement for being exclusionary or for potentially reinforcing racial divisions. However, Biko argued that this separate development was necessary as a step towards true integration, which could only happen between equals. As we reflect on Biko's life and legacy, it's clear that his impact extends far beyond his short 30 years of life. His unwavering commitment to Black liberation and dignity inspired a generation of activists and continues to influence social justice movements worldwide. In today's context, Biko's teachings on self-reliance, dignity, and the importance of mental liberation remain profoundly relevant. Moreover, Biko's life serves as a testament to the power of grassroots activism and visionary leadership in the face of oppression. As we conclude, it's worth remembering one of Biko's most famous quotes: "It is better to die for an idea that will live than to live for an idea that will die." Steve Biko lived and died for the idea of Black liberation and dignity. That idea didn't die with him. Instead, it has continued to live and grow, shaping the struggle for equality and justice in South Africa and beyond. Steve Biko's story is not just a chapter in South African history. It's a call to action, a reminder that the fight for justice and equality is ongoing, and that each of us has a role to play in shaping a more just and equitable world. As we face our own challenges and injustices, may we draw inspiration from Biko's courage, vision, and unwavering commitment to human dignity. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life and legacy of Steve Biko. For another look at revolutionary African thought, check out this video on Frantz Fanon. If you found this video enlightening, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on African and African American history. Remember, in the words of Steve Biko, the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Remember that as we continue to liberate our minds and work towards a more just world.